The night was calm in the small village. The moon was high and the wind moved slowly through the tall trees. Most houses were dark and people were already sleeping. Only one man, Armin, sat outside his small home. He was a farmer, a simple man who worked hard in the fields during the day. Tonight he wanted to rest and look at the stars. Armin often dreamed about life beyond the sky. He wondered if someone lived far away on other stars or strange worlds. But these were only dreams. For him, life was about soil, crops, and hard work. Suddenly, the silence of the night broke. From the forest, he heard a sound. At first, it was soft, like a weak cry. Then it grew louder, like someone in pain. Armin's heart beat faster. He looked around. No one else was awake. The sound came again, and this time it was clear. It was not an animal's growl. It was something different. Something strange. Armin stood up, holding a wooden stick in his hand. Slowly, he walked toward the forest. The air grew colder as he entered the trees. Shadows moved around him, and the sound of insects filled his ears. Still, he followed the strange cry. After some time, he saw a light, a faint, glowing light hidden between the trees. He stopped, breathing heavily. His mind told him to go back, but his heart pushed him forward. Carefully, he moved closer. There, lying on the ground, was a figure. Armin's eyes widened. It was not a human. The skin of the figure was pale and shining, almost silver. Its eyes were large, glowing faintly like small stars. Its body was thin and strange marks covered its arms. The figure breathed weakly and its lips looked dry as if it had not tasted water for many days. Armin's hands shook. He could not believe his eyes. An alien, a being from beyond the sky, was lying right in front of him. Every story he had heard about monsters, ghosts, and spirits came to his mind. Fear covered him, but another feeling rose inside, pity. The alien opened its eyes slowly. It looked at Armin, not with anger, not with hate, but with a soft, silent request. Its lips moved, but no words came out. Only a dry, broken whisper. Armin understood. The creature was thirsty. Armin hesitated. He could run back. He could call others. But something inside told him to stay. He bent down, opened the small clay pot he carried, and poured some water into his hand. Gently, he moved closer to the alien's lips. The creature drank slowly, drops of water shining on its silver skin. At that moment, something magical happened. The alien's eyes glowed brighter. For a second, Armin felt warmth, like the stars were watching him. The alien lifted its weak hand and touched his wrist. It was cold but soft. Armin whispered, "Don't be afraid. You are safe." The alien blinked as if it understood. Then it closed its eyes again. Suddenly, the ground shook a little. A distant roar came from deep inside the forest. Armin froze. The sound was loud, wild, and strange. The alien's body trembled, and it opened its eyes in fear. Armin looked around, but the forest was too dark. He wanted to ask what the sound was, but the alien's lips moved again. This time, one word came out in a voice so soft that only Armin could hear. "Run!" Before Armin could react, the alien's body glowed brightly for a second, and then it disappeared, vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. The only thing left was the faint mark of its hand on Armin's wrist, a soft silver shine. Armin stood there in shock. His heart pounded. His mind screamed that this was impossible, but his eyes had seen the truth. He looked at the ground. The grass where the alien had lain was still wet from the water he gave. It was real. The roar came again, louder this time. Armin ran back toward his home, his breath heavy, his legs shaking. He shut the door quickly and sat inside, trying to calm himself. The whole night he could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the glowing face of the alien. He asked himself again and again, why did it come here? Why me, and what was that roar in the forest? The night felt endless. The silence returned, but inside Armin's heart, nothing was calm anymore. He knew this was not the end. Something had started tonight. Something far bigger than he could imagine. As the first light of dawn touched the village, Armin whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning." And deep inside the forest, unseen by human eyes, shadows moved. Something was coming. Something that would change Armin's life, and the life of the whole village forever. The first rays of sunlight touched the village. Birds sang, roosters crowed, and life returned to the quiet fields. Children laughed and ran between the huts. Women prepared food, and men walked toward the farms. To everyone, it was just another normal day, but not for Armin. He had not slept the whole night. His eyes were heavy, but his mind was still awake. The memory of the silver alien, its glowing eyes, and the strange roar in the forest stayed with him like a shadow. Every time he blinked, he saw the creature drinking water from his hands. And every time he remembered its last word, run, his body shivered. Armand stepped outside his small home. The morning air was fresh, yet his heart felt heavy. He looked toward the forest. From a distance, it looked calm, quiet, and harmless, as if nothing strange had ever happened there. But Armand knew better. He walked a few steps and then he froze. Right there in the soft mud near his house, he saw footprints, not human footprints. These marks were long, thin, and sharp-edged, as if made by someone who did not belong to this world. They glowed faintly in the morning light. Armand bent down and touched them. They were real. The mud was pressed deep, proving that something heavy had stood there. His hands shook. So it was not a dream, he whispered. It was real. Before he could think further, he heard voices. A group of villagers was walking by, pointing toward the forest. I heard strange sounds last night, one man said. Yes, me too, another replied. Like wild animals roaring. An old woman shook her head. The forest is cursed. Something dark is living there. Armand's heart raced. He wanted to speak, to tell them about the alien, but fear closed his mouth. What if they laughed? What if they called him mad? Worse. What if they blamed him for bringing danger to the village? He decided to stay silent. Still, the fear of the unknown spread like smoke. Children were told not to go near the forest. Hunters refused to enter the woods that morning. Even the dogs barked at the trees, restless and uneasy. Armand tried to act normal. He worked in the fields, carried water, and greeted neighbors. But his mind kept returning to the footprints, to the glowing eyes of the creature, to the roar that had shaken the night. By noon, the sky grew hotter, and most villagers rested under the shade. Armand sat alone, staring at his wrist. The faint silver mark where the alien had touched him was still there. It glowed softly in the sunlight, like a secret only he could see. He covered it with his sleeve, afraid someone might notice. That was when something strange happened. A child from the village, playing near the forest edge, screamed. Everyone ran toward the sound. The boy pointed at the ground, his eyes wide with fear. There in the dust were more footprints, the same kind that Armand had seen near his house. Long, sharp, and glowing faintly. They led from the forest into the village and then vanished near the well. Panic spread quickly. Villagers whispered in fear. Something is watching us. It comes at night. We are not safe anymore. The village elder, a wise man with a white beard, spoke firmly. We must not panic. Perhaps it is only a trick of light or some unknown animal. But his words did not calm anyone. Mothers pulled their children close. Men carried sticks and blades, their eyes fixed on the forest. The peaceful life of the village was breaking. Armand stayed silent. He knew the truth, but he also knew the danger. If he revealed the alien's visit, everything would change. Maybe the villagers would attack the forest. Maybe they would hunt the creature. And deep inside, Armand felt that the alien was not an enemy. It was weak, injured, and afraid. He remembered the look in its eyes when he gave water. There was no hate, only need. As the day passed, Armand grew more restless. He walked to the edge of the forest. The trees stood tall, hiding secrets in their shadows. He wanted to step inside to find answers, but his feet refused to move. Instead, he whispered, "Why did you come here? And why did you choose me?" Evening came and the sky turned red. Villagers locked their doors early. Fires were lit in front of houses as people prayed for safety. Armand sat alone in his home, listening to the silence outside. His ears searched for the sound he feared, the roar. Hours passed. The night grew darker. Then suddenly his dog barked loudly. Armand jumped. He ran outside and saw the dog staring at the forest, teeth showing, hair standing, and then he saw it. At the edge of the trees, two glowing eyes. Watching. Waiting. Armand's heart froze. The same glow he had seen last night. The alien, or perhaps another one. He took a step forward, but before he could move closer, the eyes vanished into the darkness. The silence returned, heavier than before. Armand stood there, his chest rising and falling. He knew now this was not the end. The real story was only beginning. Something was coming and the village was not ready. He looked up at the night sky filled with endless stars and whispered, "Tomorrow will not be the same." The next morning, the village felt heavy with fear. People whispered in low voices. Children stayed close to their parents, and no one dared to walk near the forest. The glowing footprints and strange sounds of the night had stolen away their peace. But for Armin, the fear was different. He did not only fear the unknown, he carried a secret no one else knew. He had touched the creature, given it water, and seen its glowing eyes up close. On his wrist, the silver mark still faintly shined, hidden beneath his sleeve. Every time he looked at it, he remembered the alien's soft whisper, "Run." As the sun rose higher, the villagers gathered in the square. The elder spoke, his voice firm but worried. "Last night we heard the forest speak. This is not safe. We must guard our homes." Men nodded, carrying sticks, spears, and even farming tools for protection. Women held their children tightly. But even as the elder spoke, a strange silence fell over the crowd. The birds stopped singing. The wind slowed. Even the dogs grew quiet, ears standing, tails stiff. Then it came. A deep, echoing roar shook the ground, louder than anything they had heard before. The villagers gasped and turned toward the forest. The trees moved as if something massive was pushing through them. Leaves rained down, branches cracked, and shadows grew larger and darker. One by one, glowing eyes appeared between the trees. Dozens of them. The villagers froze. From the shadows, giant figures stepped forward. Not humans, not animals, but something in between. Aliens riding tigers. The tigers were enormous, larger than any horse, their fur striped black and silver, their eyes glowing like burning stars. Their claws sank deep into the ground, and their roars shook the air. On their backs sat aliens, tall and shining, their armor glowing faintly with strange symbols. Each alien carried long spears that seemed to hum with energy. The villagers screamed. Some ran inside their huts. Others fell to their knees, praying. The elder tried to stay calm, but even his face turned pale. The alien tribe moved in silence except for the soft growls of the tigers. They rode into the village slowly, their glowing eyes scanning every house, every face. And then they stopped right in the center of the square. The leader stepped forward. He was taller than the rest, with brighter armor and sharper eyes. His tiger was the largest, its breath steaming like fire. He raised his hand and the entire tribe went silent. His eyes searched the crowd. Then slowly he pointed his spear at one man. At Armin. Gasps filled the air. Villagers looked at him with wide eyes. Why him? Why was this powerful tribe looking for a simple farmer? Armin's heart pounded. His legs shook, but he could not move. The leader's eyes locked on him, glowing with strange recognition. Then the leader spoke, not in a language of men, but in a low, echoing voice that still carried meaning. "You, water." The words were broken, but Armin understood. The leader knew. Somehow they knew what had happened the night before. Armin took a step back, but the tiger growled, shaking the ground. The leader lifted his hand and one of the aliens dismounted. In his arms he carried something, or rather someone. It was a girl. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes bright and glowing, but softer than the others. She wore strange clothes decorated with symbols and flowers from another world. Her face was calm, almost peaceful, as if she already knew why she was here. The villagers gasped again. A girl? Why bring her here? What does this mean? The leader dismounted, walked closer, and placed the girl in front of Armin. She stood straight, looking at him with eyes full of silence and mystery. Then the leader spoke again, his voice louder this time. Bride. The word hit the crowd like thunder. Villagers shouted, confused and afraid. A bride for Armin? What kind of game was this? Armin felt his head spin. His eyes moved from the leader to the girl, then to the glowing tribe around him. He could not speak. He could not breathe. The elder stepped forward, his voice trembling. Why give a bride to this man? The leader turned his sharp eyes to him. For a moment, no one moved. Then he raised his spear and pointed again at Armin's wrist. The villagers looked. Armin's sleeve had slipped, revealing the faint silver mark glowing on his skin. The crowd gasped in horror and awe. The leader's voice rumbled once more. Saved prince. Saved blood. Family forever. Armin's eyes widened. The creature he had saved last night, it was not just an alien. It was their prince. The villagers whispered in shock. He saved their prince. They honor him. They want him as family. But Armin felt no honor. His heart raced with fear and confusion. He had only given water to someone in need. How could that small act bring such a powerful tribe into his life? The girl stepped closer. Her glowing eyes softened as she looked at him. And then, with a voice quiet but clear, she spoke in broken human words. You gave life. Now we give you. Armin's world spun. Around him, villagers whispered, aliens watched, and tigers growled, but his eyes were locked on hers. In that moment, he realized his life was no longer his own. The night of the forest had brought him into a story far bigger than himself, and this was only the beginning. The village square was silent. Only the sound of the giant tigers breathing filled the air. Their glowing eyes watched every movement, their sharp teeth shining in the sunlight. No one dared to move, no one dared to speak. All eyes were fixed on Armin, the simple farmer who only yesterday was like everyone else. And now, he stood in front of an alien tribe, their leader pointing toward him, and a glowing girl placed at his feet. The words still echoed in the villagers' ears. Bride. Armin's heart pounded. His mouth went dry. He wanted to speak, to say that he had done nothing, that he was no hero, but his lips refused to move. His eyes turned to the girl. She stood calm, her silver skin shining in the sunlight, her strange clothes flowing like water. Her eyes, glowing softly, never left his face. There was no fear in them. Instead, there was a quiet acceptance, as if she already belonged here. The elder stepped forward, his voice shaking. Great ones, we do not understand. Why give this girl to him? Why call her bride? The alien leader dismounted from his massive tiger. He walked with slow, heavy steps, his armor glowing faintly with strange symbols. The villagers moved back, afraid even to breathe near him. The leader raised his spear, then pointed at Armin's wrist, the silver mark glowing faintly. His deep, echoing voice rolled across the square. He gave water. He gave life. To our blood. To our prince, gasps rose from the villagers. Whispers spread like fire. The one he saved was their prince. He saved their royal blood. This is why they came. The leader's eyes burned with power. Our law is old. Save life of blood. You are blood, family, forever. The villagers trembled. To them, this was beyond reason. A simple man had given water to a stranger, and now a whole tribe arrived to tie him to their royal family. Armin's mind spun. Family? Bride? Forever? He had only acted from pity, from kindness. How could that small moment change his entire life? The alien girl stepped forward. Her movements were graceful, almost floating. She stopped in front of him and placed her hand gently on his wrist, right where the silver mark glowed. The mark shone brighter at her touch. The villagers gasped again. A connection had been made. Her voice was soft, broken in human words, but clear enough to understand. You gave life. To my brother, Prince, now. I give life. To you I am gift. I am bond. Armin's chest tightened. His eyes met hers. In her glow he saw gratitude, but also something more. An unspoken weight. A destiny bigger than both of them. The elder fell to his knees. Some villagers followed, bowing low to the tribe. Others cried out in fear. Some whispered curses. The air was filled with confusion and awe. But the leader raised his hand and silence returned. His deep voice rolled once more. From this day, he is marked. He is bound. Harm him, harm us. Protect him, protect us. The words struck the villagers like thunder. Their eyes turned to Armin, not with love, but with fear. He was no longer one of them. He was something else, something tied to powers they could not understand. Armin wanted to shout. He wanted to refuse. But the eyes of the alien bride held him still. They were not cruel, not commanding. They were simply waiting, waiting for him to choose. Inside his chest, his heart fought. On one side, fear. If he accepted, he would never be the same. On the other side, duty. He had saved a life, and now a life was being given back to him. The bride whispered again, her words like music. You are not alone. You are chosen. Her hand stayed on his wrist, the silver glow spreading slowly up his arm like fireflies. The mark grew brighter until it looked like a small star shining from his skin. The villagers gasped once more. Some bowed deeper. Others stepped back in fear. The elder raised his voice. Armin, this is no small thing. This gift is not just for you. It is for all of us. Choose wisely, but how could he choose? He was only a farmer, a man of soil and crops. And now the fate of his people seemed to rest on his decision. The alien leader gave a single nod. The entire tribe roared together. their tigers shaking the ground. Dust rose into the air and the sound was like thunder. Then, as suddenly as they came, the tribe turned silent. The leader looked at Armin one last time and spoke in his deep, echoing voice. Tomorrow, truth. And with that, he climbed back onto his giant tiger. The tribe turned as one, their glowing beasts stepping slowly back toward the forest. The ground trembled with each step, their glowing eyes fading into the shadows. The girl, however, did not leave. She stayed beside Armin, her hand still gently resting on his wrist. The villagers stared in shock. Some cried, some prayed, some cursed, but no one dared to touch her. No one dared to touch him. When the last roar of the tigers vanished into the distance, silence fell again. The elder looked at Armin with heavy eyes. You are no longer just Armin the farmer, he whispered. You are now part of something far greater and far more dangerous. Armin's breath shook. He looked at the alien girl beside him, her glowing eyes calm, her face unreadable. And in that moment he understood one thing clearly. His life had changed forever. This was not just a gift. This was a chain, and tomorrow the truth would arrive. The night after the tribe's visit was restless. The villagers could not sleep. Some whispered prayers inside their homes. Others sharpened blades, fearing that the aliens might return with war. Mothers held their children close, and old men told stories of curses and omens. But for Armin, sleep was impossible. He sat inside his small hut, the alien girl beside him. The faint silver glow from his wrist lit the dark room like a tiny lamp. Every time he looked at the mark, his chest grew heavier. The girl did not speak much. She sat silently, her glowing eyes watching the world outside the window. But sometimes she looked at Armin, and in those moments, he felt something strange, like she wanted to say something important, but her words were trapped. When dawn arrived, the village gathered once more. No one went to the fields. No one touched the forest. Everyone waited because the alien leader had spoken. Tomorrow, truth. And truth was coming. The ground shook before noon. Birds flew away in great flocks, screaming in the sky. The children ran to their mothers, and the men tightened their grips on sticks and spears. Then came the sound, the deep roars of giant tigers. The tribe had returned. This time they did not arrive in silence. They came like a storm. Dust rose into the sky as the massive beasts stepped into the village. Their glowing eyes burned brighter in daylight, and their riders sat tall and proud. The leader dismounted once again. His armor glowed with strange blue light. He looked at Armin and then at the girl who still stood at his side. The leader raised his hand and the tribe went silent. Then he spoke, his deep voice carrying across the square. Truth. The villagers held their breath. The leader's eyes scanned the crowd, then fixed on Armin. He pointed his spear toward him. This man, this farmer. He gave water. He gave life. His voice grew louder like thunder. The one he saved was our prince, blood of our king. He was hunted, injured, lost. Death was close. But this man, he saved him. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread quickly. The alien he saved was their prince. A prince? Here in our forest? This is bigger than we thought. The leader continued, his words heavy. Our law is old. Our bond is sacred. Save blood of the king. You become blood. You are family. You are one of us. He turned to the girl and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. His eyes softened for the first time. She is daughter of the king, princess. She is gift. She is bond. She is bride. The villagers froze. They had thought the girl was a simple alien woman. But now they understood she was royalty. A princess from a world beyond their sky. And she had been given to Armin, a poor farmer. Armin felt the weight of the words crush him. His knees trembled. A princess? A bride? Me? The elder stepped forward, his voice trembling but strong. Great one, we honor your law. But we are only humans. We do not know your ways. Why give such a gift to this man? Why change his life forever? The leader's eyes burned brighter. Because fate chose him. Not us, not you. The stars choose. He lifted his spear high, and suddenly the silver mark on Armin's wrist began to glow brighter, as if the spear called to it. The light spread across Armin's arm, glowing like fire. The villagers gasped and stepped back in fear. The leader lowered his spear. He carries the mark. The bond is sealed. If he accepts, he becomes our blood. If he rejects, the bond breaks, and war begins. The words dropped heavy into the silence. The villagers looked at Armin with wide, fearful eyes. If he refused, war would fall upon them. If he accepted, he would no longer belong fully to them. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. Armin's heart raced. He looked at the villagers, people he had lived with all his life. Their faces were pale with fear, their eyes begging him to choose peace. Then he looked at the princess. Her glowing eyes met his, calm and steady. She whispered, her voice soft but clear. "You saved my brother. Now you save your people." Armin's breath shook. His mind screamed to run, to hide, to escape. But his heart knew the truth. There was no escape. Fate had caught him. The leader's voice thundered once more. Choose. The silence of the village was so deep that even the wind seemed to stop. Armin closed his eyes. He remembered the weak alien lying in the forest, the way its glowing eyes had pleaded for water. He remembered how his heart had pushed him to help, even when his mind had feared. When he opened his eyes, he looked at the princess. Her soft gaze told him everything. This was not about him anymore. This was about something far greater. Armin lifted his wrist. The silver mark shone bright. He spoke, his voice steady, though his body trembled. "I accept." The moment the words left his lips, the tribe roared in unison. Their tigers growled, their voices echoing across the land. The ground trembled as if the earth itself had heard his choice. The princess stepped forward and placed both her hands on his glowing wrist. The light spread between them, connecting them like threads of silver. For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. The leader raised his spear high. "He is blood. He is family. He is ours." The villagers bowed, some in awe, others in fear. Armin stood frozen, his heart beating faster than ever. He had spoken the words, but even he did not know what they truly meant. The truth had been revealed. But deep inside, he feared that the real truth was still hidden, waiting in the shadows, waiting in the stars. The tribe's roars still echoed in the air. Dust hung above the square, and the villagers bowed low, trembling. Some hid their faces. Others dared to peek at Armin, the farmer who was no longer just a farmer. Armin stood frozen. His wrist glowed with silver light where the princess's hands touched him. The mark burned softly like a star that refused to fade. He had spoken the words, "I accept," but his heart was still heavy. Was it truly his choice? Or had fear made it for him? The alien leader lowered his spear and stepped back. The princess, her silver eyes calm, stayed by Armin's side. She looked at him as if she had known him for years, though they had met only yesterday. The villagers whispered among themselves. "He has joined them. He is one of them now. What will happen to us?" The elder raised his voice, trembling but clear. "People of the village, remember, we are still human. We must stay together. Do not fear what you do not understand." But even as he spoke, Armin saw the fear in their eyes. They looked at him differently now, not as a neighbor, not as a friend, but as something between man and alien. That night, the tribe camped at the edge of the forest. Their glowing tigers prowled in silence, their eyes like fire in the dark. The villagers locked their doors, afraid even to whisper too loudly. Inside his small hut, Armin sat across from the princess. A single lamp burned between them. He studied her face, pale silver and calm. She seemed untouchable, yet her eyes carried warmth. Finally, he spoke. His voice was low. "Why me? I am not special. I am not a warrior, not a king. I am just a farmer." The princess tilted her head slightly. Her voice was soft, her words broken but meaningful. "You gave water. You gave life, kindness, greater than power." Her eyes glowed brighter. "Our law is strong. Bond is forever. But choice is yours." Armin's chest tightened. "Do I really have a choice?" She lowered her gaze. "If you break bond, war, my people will fight. Your people will suffer. Blood will fall." Armin's breath caught. The truth was clear. His choice was not only about himself. It was about everyone, the villagers, the tribe, and maybe more. The princess looked at him again. "If you stay, you gain family. You gain us. You gain me." Her words were gentle, but they cut deep. Armin's heart raced. Family, him, with her? It felt impossible, unreal, yet her eyes told him it was true. That night he could not sleep. He stepped outside his hut and looked at the sky. The stars shone brightly, endless and silent. Somewhere out there was her home, her world, her people, and here he stood, caught between earth and stars. Behind him he heard footsteps. It was the elder. The old man's face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. "Armin, the elder said softly. Do you know what you carry? Armand lowered his head. I did nothing but give water. The elder shook his head. Sometimes the smallest act changes the biggest fate. You saved their prince. Now you carry their law, their bond, their war. Armand's voice cracked. What should I do? The elder placed a hand on his shoulder. You must choose not for yourself but for all of us. If you reject them, we may die. If you accept them, we may live, but at what cost? Armand's throat burned with fear. He wanted to scream that he never asked for this. He wanted to beg for his simple life back, but deep inside he knew it was gone. The elder whispered, Remember, choice is power, even when it feels like a cage. The next morning, the tribe returned to the square. The leader stood tall on his glowing tiger, his voice booming. Farmer, speak, do you walk with us? Or do you break bond? The villagers held their breath. Children clutched their mothers. Men tightened their fists. All eyes turned to Armand. The princess stepped closer, her hand gently touching his wrist. The silver mark glowed once more, brighter than before. She whispered, only for him to hear. If you accept, you are not alone. I am with you always. Armand's heart shook. He saw the villagers afraid and weak. He saw the tribe powerful and ready. He saw the princess calm and waiting. His choice was not just his own. He lifted his wrist, the silver glow shining like fire. His voice was steady now, though fear still lived inside. I will not break the bond, the tribe roared. Their tigers growled, their voices shaking the ground. The princess's eyes softened, and for the first time she smiled. But as the roar faded, Armand's heart whispered another truth. This was only the first step. A choice made under pressure is not freedom. The real test had not yet come, and deep inside a darker question grew. What if this bond was not a gift, but a trap? The roar of the alien tribe still echoed through the mountains when silence fell again. Dust floated in the air, villagers trembled, and Armand stood with the silver glow burning on his wrist. His choice was made, yet his heart was restless. The princess stayed beside him, her calm eyes never leaving his face. She seemed content, as if everything was unfolding exactly as it was meant to. But Armand felt no peace. The bond was sealed, and his life as a simple farmer was gone forever. That night, the tribe made camp on the edge of the forest once more. Fires burned with blue flames, not like human fire, but something stranger, brighter. The villagers watched from a distance, afraid to come close. They whispered, He is one of them now. He belongs to the sky people. What if they take him away forever? Inside his hut, Armand sat with the princess. For a long time, neither spoke. The silence grew heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the mark glowing on his skin. Finally, Armand asked, his voice low, Why me? Why must it be me? There are kings, warriors, men greater than I am only a farmer. The princess looked at him gently. Her words were slow but clear. You are kind. You give without fear. Our law honors this. Stars chose you. Armand's throat tightened. And if I had walked away? If I had left your brother to die? Her glowing eyes darkened. Then death would have walked here. Not just for him, for you, for all. Her words sent a chill through him. The night deepened. Strange sounds echoed from the forest. Low growls, whispers carried on the wind, shapes moving in the shadows. The tribe's tigers growled softly, restless, their eyes flashing at unseen dangers. Armand felt it too. Something was coming. Something more than the tribe. At midnight, the alien leader entered Armand's hut. His tall figure filled the room, his glowing armor casting strange light across the walls. The princess bowed her head in respect, but her eyes never left Armand. The leader spoke. His deep voice rolled like thunder. Farmer, you are bound. But bond is only beginning. You must learn truth. Truth of war, Armand frowned. War, what war? The leader's eyes burned. Prince was hunted, injured by enemies. Enemies of our blood. They seek our end, and now they will seek you. The word struck Armand like a blade. Enemies? Not only had he been bound to the tribe, he had been bound to their war. The leader's voice lowered, heavy with warning. Your choice brought peace today. But tomorrow, they will come. They will hunt you. They will hunt all you love. Armand's chest tightened. The villagers. His people. They had no weapons to fight glowing spears. No beasts to match the alien tigers. If war came here, the village would burn. The princess placed her hand on his wrist again, calming the glow. Her voice was soft, but her words cut deep. This is only beginning. Bond protects, but Bond also calls danger. Armin's breath shook. He wanted to shout, to demand freedom, but his voice failed. Deep down, he already knew. There was no turning back. The leader left as silently as he had entered, leaving Armin and the princess alone again. When the hut grew quiet, the princess leaned closer. Her glowing eyes softened, almost tender. She whispered words only he could hear. You think you chose. But truth, you were chosen long before. The stars marked you. Armin's eyes widened. What do you mean? The princess touched the silver mark, her voice steady. This mark? Not new, it waited. Waiting for right moment. Waiting for you. You are not just farmer, Armin. You are key. The air seemed to freeze around him. His chest grew heavy. Key to what? Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Her whisper was like a secret carried by the wind. To everything. At that moment a roar exploded outside, louder than before, deeper, not from the tribe's tigers. The earth shook. Villagers screamed. The night sky lit up with strange lights, red and burning. The tribe leapt to their tigers, weapons glowing. The leader shouted commands in their strange tongue. Armin ran outside with the princess. His eyes widened in terror. Above the forest, ships glowed in the sky, dark, sharp, and massive. Shadows of enemies had arrived. The princess clutched his wrist tightly, her eyes blazing. Now you see. This bond is not gift. It is war. The ground trembled. The sky burned red. And Armin realized the final truth. His simple act of kindness had not just changed his life. It had changed the fate of worlds. And this was only the beginning.